All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Velez. I'm here with Goose,
What's up?
Heck,
Yup.
and Gabe. That's right, folks, my brand. In this episode, the crew discusses their brand in 3 words. We talk about pride, our legacy, good versus bad brands, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes by Simon Mainwaring and Jeff Bezos. All right, if you're new, guys, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. With that being said, we define the word brand by dictionary.com. Kind, grade, or make, as indicated by a stamp, trademark, or the like. A kind or variety of something distinguished by some distinctive characteristic. What do you guys think? Is that brand or what?
Brand.
It is what it is. All right, cool. So what I did was I went to digitalmarketinginstitute.com and went to an article titled 7 Steps to Building Your Personal Brand. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this little article here, again from digitalmarketinginstitute.com. And the 7 steps that they're saying is, first of all, step number 1, determine and prioritize your values and passions. Values are things that you believe are important in the way you live and work. They're at the core of who you are as a person. Determine your priorities. Some examples of values include friends, family, honesty, community, ambition when faced with difficult decisions. All right, so values are important for business, especially during job search, right? Passions are always are ways we enjoy spending your time. What do you guys think about that? Like, so the first step is determine and prioritize your values and passion. I think that is the first thing to understanding your brand, right? You can't be a brand without understanding what your values and passions are. Understanding our values is obviously core to our message. So obviously you guys know that I'm taking a course, Marketing 510 at Drexel University. And one of the first things they say is not to drift from who you are and what your brand is, right? Yeah. So there's this company, ASICS. You guys know ASICS, right?
Oh, yeah.
So ASICS had this thing. There's this whole article, and they dive into this whole marketing campaign that they were doing. So ASICS has 3 core, branches of their brand, right? So it's like the serious runner, the fun runner, and then like the lifestyle portion. Okay. So the lifestyle portion is a lot of what we wear, right? So it's like the Tiger or whatever it is, the ASICS Tiger or whatever. They have like the gummy soles or whatnot. Yeah. And then they have like what they call the fun runner, which is actually something that's supporting someone's feet and ankle while they're jogging, but it's not a $200 shoe, right? And then they have the serious runner, which ASICS is known for. They sell, I didn't even realize this, ASICS sells like a $200 shoe. And 40% of marathon runners wear ASICS. And so obviously they capitalized on who they are, and what their brand is. So the thing was, they acquired, you guys know, like these devices that track like the distance of what you run. So Nike has it like in their shoe or whatever. Sure. Yeah. So they acquired, it's something runner. I forget what it is, but it's this device that they're implanting in their shoes, and it's tracking their mileage or whatever.
Like GPS, that thing? Or?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's cool. So with that being said, they're trying to attract the fun runner, because apparently the fun runner is now the biggest, segment of running, and then people in marathons participation is going down by 10 to 20%. Wow. Really? So a lot of what's fascinating is a lot of what people are participating in are 5Ks and 10Ks, which is funny because that's what we're participating, which is like the fun. That's what they're calling the fun runner. So that segment has blown up. So that's what they're trying to tap into. So this whole article is basing off of what they're saying. Step 1 is determine and prioritize your values and passions. That's perfectly fine, but they're also saying don't go away from what you're known for, right? So if ASICS is known for their serious runner, they're selling a $200 shoe, the question then becomes, is it right for them to now go towards this fun runner segment? where they're spending, I think it was like $85 million to acquire this company, this device.
Holy crap.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot, yeah.
The thing for me was, so the professor was asking, is this a good decision? I'm like, they already made the decision, right? They already acquired this company. I'm like, you have to make, at this point, you have to now make it work. Mm-hmm. And now if you want to tap into one of the largest running markets out there, then this is what you need to focus on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then they're also asking, like, where should you allocate your marketing, money and all this other good stuff. But it was interesting because that was the first thing I thought of was ASICS when it says determine your, prioritize your values and passions. So that's step one. So that makes sense though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to identify who you are. Yeah. Then step two is define your key traits. What helps you stand out from the crowd. These elements make you unique, and they help shape the personality and your identity. The big 5 personality traits: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. That's very interesting, right? So define your key traits. So define, what you're good at. So it's understanding what my passion is, right? And then understanding what makes me good at that, right? Okay. So what are my key traits? Yeah, that can be my passion, but if I stink at it, that's not, it's not very helpful, right? So if I understand what my passion is, and then I identify those traits that make me good at what I'm excited about,
then you do it it'll be much better in the back end.
Exactly. So that's huge. I mean, to me, that's a straightforward, step. So it says each of these traits is assessed on a scale, and where you fall on the scale defines your unique personality. All right, anyway, so let's move on to step 3. Step 3 is develop your personal image. Once you know your values and passions and personality traits, it's time to start showcasing them. Here are some ways you can get started. Number 1, have professional headshots taken and use them on LinkedIn. Wow, they're really trying to get the business out. Cultivate an email signature that's unique to you. Build your credibility and content using your personal blog. I'm assuming this is a little dated. 4, dress the part. Stay prepared for your networking events, big meetings, and keeping a fresh blazer, Goose. Okay? Your pants or your skirt. Pressed and ready to go. What do you think about that one?
Got my skirt ready.
And make sure you update your MySpace account.
Your MySpace.
I think this article is a tad bit dated.
A little dated.
But obviously, step 3 in developing your personal image, I think we all know that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of like the thing, you guys know the motto that I teach James is like, look good, feel good, you feel good, you do good. If you do good, they pay good kind of thing. So, that was one of those things, growing up, that was one of the things I know our mom instilled in us. Yeah. Kind of like presenting yourself in a specific way.
Sure.
Not realizing we were developing our own brand, right?
Absolutely.
So when the Velez brothers walk into a place, it's kind of like, this is the feel that you get. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even kind of going back to when you all your different levels in school. So it's like, oh, you're his brother, so you already have not a legacy, like a reputation.
Yeah,
precedes you.
Based
on your brothers that come before you.
Yeah. And we talk about that shit all the time. It was one of those things where it was like, I was at the high school, last week or whatever, and I was talking to the kids, and I'm thinking, like, building my legacy. I was trying to figure out a way how to separate myself from my brothers, not in a negative way, but I was always getting called Little Miguel or Little Hector, and I'm like, I'm 4 and 5 years younger. Yeah. You know what I mean? I want to be my own person. So my fight for this whole thing was developing my own brand. So in my mind, I was like, all right, so we're known as, the pretty boy, whatever, that whole thing, right? Yeah. And then Heck and Goose had their own reputation, which is fine. But in my mind, I'm like, how can I totally be different? Yeah.
Change it up.
So, I got to switch this up. So I stuck with sports. I stuck with that whole thing. And I'm like, I'm going to, bust my tail off and I want to go to school, to college for undergrad or whatever. Mm-hmm. I have to be my own person. How can I do this? So I just stuck with those things. And then eventually I was getting called by my name and not Little Miguel and Little Hector. Because I made my own name. But that was like one of those things I felt like I was fighting for. I was
mission.
drowning under their 2 names.
Absolutely.
Again, it wasn't a negative thing, but it was like, to a point, you're like, dude, I want to be my own person. I'm not Little Miguel. First of all, I think it was like when I hit my growth spurt too, because I'm like, all right, I'm little Miguel because I am actually smaller than him.
Sure.
Then you get to a point where like, dude, I'm like 3 inches taller, 4 inches, 5 inches taller than this dude. I don't want to be called little him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that was definitely it by developing my personal image. Number 4, define your target audience. It's impossible to make everyone like you, so why would you try to appeal to everyone when building your personal brand? Defining a target audience is important for organizations, and it's also important for individuals. Think about when you're younger and when you made sure you get requests approved from your parents when you're in a good mood. The basic example teaches an important lesson. It's best to invest your time and energy into an audience that is more likely to give you your desired outcome. Sure. That's hilarious. I used to wait for my mom to be in a good mood to ask for something. Sure. Or if I could sleep over my boy's house or something.
Right time.
That timing.
You catch her sideways, forget it.
Yeah.
You're getting it wrong.
No to everything.
Yeah, you're getting the wrong answer.
You got to set yourself up right. But that's interesting, like knowing knowing who your audience is.
Absolutely.
One of the things is with like the Blessed brand, which is hilarious because people are like, oh, what religion or what association are you with? I'm like, I'm not with an association. This is a lifestyle brand, and I feel like I'm repetitively, and that's fine, explaining myself.
Yeah.
But what's hilarious is like when you do ads with Facebook, you have to pick an audience, right? So what is your niche? You have to target that, and then you can actually pick specific groups of people, not only age groups, whatever their likes and interests are, and then obviously beliefs. So it has all this stuff, right? And actually, it even goes down to what they're involved, like what their careers are.
Oh, well, okay.
So I have different groups. So I'm in a testing, what they call a testing phase. So one of my groups is actually a religious group.
Yeah.
So I picked people that was actually my first group that I made off of the Facebook ads. I'm like, let's start there. That's the base, and then see what their trends are and what their patterns are based off that. So if I see that if someone between 18 and 25 is not picking up my stuff, who also likes, whatever, reading the Bible.
Sure.
Okay, so then I missed that mark. How can I capture that? One, number two, maybe that's not my market, right?
Right.
So I'm in this testing phase where I'm picking out all these.
To see who will
exactly.
fit. Yeah.
So right now, the thing with Facebook though, man, it's tough to get approved for these ads. Yeah, so finally, I finally got approved for like this shop now button, but I'm trying to get approved for each post because then they themselves promote it.
Okay.
So they're saying this post that you just posted of all these kids wearing a Blessed shirt is getting way more likes than all your other posts.
Yeah.
Do you want to boost it? That's their terminology. Boosting is like marketing this specific post to a much broader audience. So that comes out and they're like, how much, what's your budget? How long do you want this ad to go? Okay. And all those things keep getting denied. I'm like, you're the one who asked me to do it. I try to do it. And for whatever reason, it keeps getting denied. Yeah. So I don't know if they even approved my my other one where it's like the purchase button. I have no idea. But all of this is me trying to define my audience.
Sure.
Which is what they're saying step 4 is. Anyway, moving right along. So step 5, build your online presence. All right. From Twitter to podcast, blogs to Facebooks, to establish your personal brand, you must get your voice out there. First, you must secure URLs. RotatedViews.com, blessed with the 3, the first E, turn that into a 3.com, or blesslife.com, jimmyleevelez.com, jimmylee-velez.com. That's what securing your URLs. Yeah. I actually have a bunch of URLs just
do you feel secure with all those URLs right now?
You don't know. Hey, listen, there's companies out there ready to rob you for whatever you're
just squatting on the URL.
Yes,
trying to take it
exactly, because then they want you to pay them whatever a grip for that.
Step ahead of you.
Yeah, that URL.
Because you get big enough, and then you want that domain.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, secure your URL, social usernames. I guess that means social media. This includes
all your handles.
Yeah, all your handles. This includes both your personal website and any social networks you choose to join. Tools like Knowem and Namecheck can help you check availability across hundreds of social communities. If your preferred name has already been chosen, try using dashes, underscores, or numbers to find the best one that fits your brand. This is all pretty straightforward stuff to build your online presence. I got to tell you, though, that is like probably one of the hardest things is getting a website that's not general, that's more specific to who you are, but then relatable, because you don't want that whole like, HectorLewisVelez.com. So, you know what I mean? Like it's like over the top, specific.
They'll look at him like
you're trying to catch it, like catch that niche, but it's like also like I don't know, a little too specific.
Sure.
But anyway, so step 6. This is how I know this is super old. Is start blogging. It's saying start. In 2018, many marketers consider blogging to be the best way to build a business, but they can also be influential when building a personal brand. Once you have started your website, use the complete guide to building your blog audience to get started with blogging.
Well, I guess that can be changed now to vlogging. I guess you do
Yeah.
online
Vlogging,
videos
yeah.
and all stuff. Just videos of yourself doing everyday stuff, life type stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's probably one of the biggest things. So here's the thing. So when we went from like Twitter, the reason why I like Instagram and Facebook more than Twitter is because Twitter is just words.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of times it's like, dude, I'm looking at a computer screen or reading all day anyway. Last thing I want to do is read. Especially other people's opinions.
Sure.
Right? So it is not what I'm excited. I think at this point you can post pictures, but Instagram then started getting based off just pictures. That's how they got started. But beyond that, if you see like the people with the most following, it's beyond pictures. It's little snippets of videos that are like under a minute long that captures people's attention span, because no one wants to, I mean, most people, unless they're watching a movie, doesn't want to watch anything more that's, more than 2 or 3 minutes, right? That's the whole thing with like music. That's the reason why it ranges between 2 and 3.5 minutes. You're only going to capture someone's attention on a specific subject for so long, unless you're giving money away or something. Otherwise it's just not even like that attractive or whatever.
On to the next song after like halfway listen to
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Too long.
But these videos, is it not interesting when we're watching on Instagram?
Oh, yeah.
It's super interesting. World Star Hip Hop is the best for that, where they have, it could be a music video, it could be someone doing something funny, it could be like a magic trick, whatever. It could be, the fight clips, whatever they have on there. It's apparently it's appealing clearly. Because it's capturing the audience for these small little segments. Kevin Hart's handle on Instagram is interesting too, because he does the same thing. Although he posts, obviously he's a comedian, so the majority of the stuff that he does is funny. But a lot of it is capturing. People are very interested, maybe nosy, people will say, into your life. So if you're capturing your life in small little segments, people are very fascinated. That's what exploded YouTube. These people literally had what you're saying, vlogs of what they do. Literally, there's kids opening boxes of brand new toys, and people love to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and that's the same thing in my world, in barber industry. Before, when Instagram was just pictures, it was you're showing like a dope cut, like a nice haircut. Now you can actually show a video of you doing that cut. And like me, I find like a haircut that looks nice, appealing, so I'm staring at it, but then that's it. There's nothing else. If the next swipe over, it's a video and I'm watching it, it drew more of my attention. And it's more appealing. So I'm gonna keep going on that person's videos and probably look through all of them. Instead of just look at a picture and that's it, boom, keep it moving.
And a lot of it is how are you, so this goes back to branding, how are you separating yourself from other people?
But because especially the I guess short attention span version of it, it's a now defunct thing. I forget what was it, that one thing, it was a social media thing, but it was only you can only post 6-second videos. I think
it was Instagram.
Instagram started out. It was
there was something else though.
I forget what the name of it is, but
not Snapchat. It was something else. There was something before,
6 seconds long, and then
Vine.
That's what it was.
But then people got it's it was goofy stuff, whatever, with the Vine. But then people got super creative with it and did all kinds of weird magic tricks and had them all streamed together and made one giant,
in 6 seconds they're doing 1 second clips and then putting them piecing them together. That was interesting. I mean, you got to get crazy creative with that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole thing with writing lyrics or writing a poem or something. When you're constricted, like a haiku or something, types of poems, you have to have specific categories that you have to hit to make it an actual haiku or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what makes it difficult. I feel like you're constrained and you're limited with your creativity to an extent. Or in music, when you have to rhyme one line to the next.
Absolutely.
That's what makes it super
some
hard.
people can just be all over the place and be like, what the heck is this mess?
Yeah.
Like whether it's a picture or song or music or whatever, like you said. Dude.
Yeah.
So even some stories. I see some people write some stories and it'll go from like, I took a walk down the park. I saw this. Oh, yeah, look at that boat. Like, what the heck? They're describing what's in front of them.
Float.
Yeah, but they're describing what's really in front of them, but we're behind the scenes. We don't know what the heck's going on. They're walking by the river or something, you know what I mean? Like, there's people who don't know how to paint the picture in words or verbally. Like.
Right, but then, like, the whole part is capturing. If you can capture that moment,
sure.
It's the hardest thing. It's also the most obnoxious thing when you see people like constantly with their phones out and like trying to capture something that didn't yet happen, but then you're hyped and you're excited that they did capture something when it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because the majority of the time it's hard. Like, I started James' whole, YouTube channel or whatever. It's hard to. He's just a naturally goofy and funny kid.
Sure.
But when the film starts rolling, it's hard for him to be natural because that's not
because he
normal.
knows, he knows,
right?
But
if you start doing it enough, that becomes natural and normal. It's like these reality TV shows that can't be normal for a camera to be, following you the whole time. But after a while, you don't even realize it's there.
Yeah,
and you start,
it's like Nova or Danica the other day. She's walking around. She's like, Dad, look at my Snapchat. She had the phone on video, and she's walking around, and she's saying, thank you, guys, and just like my channel. And she's just going off. I'm like, my 3-year-old is talking about like my channel, thumbs up it. I'm like and subscribe. Heck? Yeah, like and subscribe. Dad, my Snapchat. And then so the phone shut off, and she's like, Dad, my Snapchat is off. I'm like, why Snapchat? Why can't you just say your video?
Yeah. She associates that with
everything.
Snapchat.
The camera's on a Snapchat. I'm like,
that's hilarious.
The heck?
All right, so step 7, the last step. Follow in the footsteps of an expert. Who do you admire inside or outside of the marketing industry? Here are examples of great personal branding from which you can borrow straight from the experts. Take note of how these individuals present themselves and their work. Obviously, he's going to go into personal development people like Darren Hardy and Neil Patel. And he says, ready to build your personal brand? Start getting the skills you need to succeed in digital marketing with a professional diploma in digital marketing. So we talk about this all the time, like getting a mentor, getting somebody. Yeah. Sure. I know I just started this lifestyle brand, and a friend of ours, Gilbert Rodriguez, who was on episode 117, he says, I know a guy who is selling his invention on Amazon, so let me hook you up. So the thing is, this guy, I already had this conversation, I had a conference call with this guy, and just with that, whatever it was, 30 or 45 minute conference call with this guy, he dropped nuggets and information that I was 100% unaware of, right? Mm-hmm. And it's those little insights that if you can capture and grab, right? Yeah. Instead of trying to like bang your head up against a wall 100 million times, this person already did that. Sure. If you can, associate yourself with who you're trying to be in the industry. Goose, I know in the barber industry, there's some people who are terrible. Oh, yeah. There's some people who are really good. Yeah. But if you can capture...
but it's crazy because when you do get it, it like, ding, it clicks in your head. It makes sense. Yeah. And then at the same time, it's like, it sounds like so... Like, why didn't I just think of that? Like, it sounds...
It's almost like genius. Yeah. Like, you're like, damn.
At the same time, it sounds kind of not... I don't want to say dumb, but it's just like, dude, it does make sense. The way they say it, the way they put it together, the way they... Whatever, but it does... But you can be in a conversation, this person can talk for like a half hour straight, and you're just bing, bing, just a bunch of aha moments. Yeah. Yo, and this dude probably has no clue, but you're just telling him just keep going, like, because it does, there are, when you have someone that knows or is well experienced in what your niche is or what you're looking for, it's huge. It's so huge.
We talk about this all the time. A lot of the, in the personal development industry, which is my industry, my favorite subject matter, a lot of the content is exactly the same, right? So obviously you guys know in my office, there's a ton of books all based off the same kinds of material. Yeah. But here's the thing, it's given from a different perspective. And once you capture someone's perspective that you yourself can relate to, that's a wrap. That's when it starts making sense. That's when it starts clicking, like you're saying. It's like, oh my goodness. That's what I was talking about when Rhonda Byrne released The Power. everything I was learning, right? Everything I was learning for years was like, that's great information. Like in my mind, I knew it was good information, but for some reason it wasn't 100% clicking. The way she worded her material clicked and it resonated with me.
Yeah, and then you get so excited to apply that on your on something else. Or you try to use that technique or whatever. You get so pumped up trying to like use that whatever you just learned, that little nugget.
Yeah, no, that's for me, that's the best. But yeah, so anyway, so if you guys were to brand yourself or come up with 3 words that defines your brand, what do you think it would be?
Well, mine was just like this phrase where it's not even a phrase, it's like 2 letters. It's be you, like the letter B and letter U, like be you. You should just do what you got to do. Your talent is within you, so just be you, just be natural. Some people try too hard to do something, doesn't like. And it doesn't pan out. Just be you, be like original and whatever, and that's it'll just come and play. Like that's so my thing. Like I just came up with like those 2 letters. I'm like, be you. That's it. Like that's just my little phrase. And anything, just anyone asks you any kind of advice with anything, just that's just like my main like slogan. Just be you.
Yeah. Yeah, so we took this, so like you guys know, last week I was talking about this leadership class that I was taking at work or whatever called Great Beginnings. Well, in it, they're asking, it's like, all right, if you could say your brand, whatever your personal brand, it doesn't have to be a business, it's who you are, in 3 words. Now, in my mind, I'm like, 3 words? I'm like, that's tough, right? How can you describe who you are or whatever, who you want to represent in 3 words? So I was thinking, I'm like, all right, so I want to, like, the number one thing is, like, whatever I do, I want to be, like a person of, obviously, influence, but of significance.
Sure.
Right? So whatever I want to do, I want it to be, like, meaningful. The other thing is something positive and me having enthusiasm towards it. So I'm going back with these words, right? Impact, enthusiasm. Something that I'm super excited about, getting up every single day, pumped up, regardless of what's happening in life, what mood I'm in, how exhausted I am from the previous day, whatever. I'm enthusiastic about what's about to take place, regardless, because I'm that excited about who I am, right? And then the last thing is, so is it impact, enthusiasm? Oh, and respect. So I want to have the respect of the people that I respect, right? It was like, you can respect that. Right, like what he's doing, that's mad respectful, or like, it's representative of, I guess, who we all want to be or aspire to be, even if it's in like a different calling. That you respect that. There's nothing, I think. Obviously, there's things better, but one of the best things in life is getting the respect from people you respect. So whatever, like, so if you're a barber, right? And this you respect this, well-known barber, whoever that is, and they respect you. Like they say something, they promote you, they say something about you or something, whatever. Yeah. I think that's like one of the dopest. Yeah, that's like one of the dopest
definitely
things.
Good feeling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and you put so much into. Well, people who are out there really getting it. You put so much into what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the last thing you want is for it to fall on, deaf ears.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there goes the impact.
Yeah.
Like, if I walk around, I'm like, this dude has a positive impact, and I respect that. Yeah. And then I have, like, that smile on my face because I know what I'm doing is meaningful. So this class, they gave us like a list. It was like a big
Did it give
list.
you like a set of words, or you just had to make up the words as you?
They gave you a set of words, but I think I made up the impact one. They had other words that basically meant that, but that was like a word that popped in my head. Significance was the word. Like living a life of significance. It's crazy because it's like at first you're like, all right, what do I want? Like at the end of the day, you want to live a fulfilling life.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
A satisfying, fulfilling life. That has nothing to do with money, but it does. It has nothing to do with your friends, but it does, right? Mm-hmm. So it touches all these areas. But the thing is that you don't need to be expert in every single area. Because here's the thing, the part where the gratification comes is that what Goose is saying in his 2 little letters, be you, is that you're being true to yourself. And our gift, what we always say, our gift back to God is, sharpening or expressing the gifts he gave us, right? So the talents that we're bestowed with, right, and making the most out of them. This also goes back to being resourceful, like reaching out. What is that? Oh my gosh, I feel like I always forget this law. It was like the law of 6 degrees or
6 degrees of separation.
6 degrees of separation. That's how close we are to attaining or connecting with anyone and anything in this world, right? How wild that thought is. Like, you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, right? And by 6 turns, I know Justin Bieber, right? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what's crazy, in 2 turns, right, Cedric the Entertainer was wearing my Blessed t-shirt.
Yeah.
Right? It's just wild.
And that can keep going from there. So someone that he knows can go up to and even bigger and bigger.
And bigger and bigger. And so Cedric knows Post Malone, whose best friend is Justin Bieber, and bam, I'm at Justin Bieber within 5.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's crazy, but how simple, whatever that just feels or sounds, that's crazy, because you don't realize how much influence, how powerful we are individually. You know? It's just wild. I know going up the mountains was a thing of, like my wife's side of the family, which I absolutely adored. It's one of those things that I want to continue with my boys. Is going up the for us it's upstate PA, the Poconos, whatever. And there's I forget what the jail's called. Oh my gosh, I forget. There's a small town in the Poconos, between Big Boulder and Jim Thorpe. I forget what this little town is called. Actually, it's Jim Thorpe. It's Jim Thorpe, actually. Yeah, in Jim Thorpe. Okay, so there's this little like strip in Jim Thorpe where it's like kind of like out here, like a Mill Street, whatever. But you're in the mountains.
Okay,
it's pretty cool. And there was this Irish gang called something Molly. I forget the Irish Molly. I forget. Anyway. So this guy apparently was wrongfully accused, and they hung him for a crime or something like that. Well, anyway, so he put his handprint on the wall, apparently, and his handprint is still there in the jail cell that he was in. And he wrote something or said something like, let this day be known that you wrongfully accused and killed an innocent man. It was something to that caliber. And that struck me. How long ago that was, and this gang is very small, respectively speaking, compared to like the world.
Yeah.
And this little story is known literally around the world. And I was just going back to say how much impact we don't even realize we have in just being him. He was being honest. He was saying, allegedly, saying what he felt was strong. It was strong enough that his handprint is still there. Like, I saw it myself. There's definitely a handprint.
What is it? Is it like that he touched something and he like have ink onto the wall?
I don't know how it's there.
Wet? Like
that,
how the heck is his hand?
Honestly, like I have no idea. It's like almost like it looks like a dirt mark. Like it's just dark. Almost like if you like colored your hand in like coal and then just slapped it up against a wall.
So like he probably put ink on his hand.
It's not that dark. It's not that dark. Like it's like years ago.
Right.
So it's like faded, but you can. It's definitely a thumb and 4 fingers.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know how real it is, how fake it is. I have no idea.
And how long ago was it? Like how far back?
I forget. We'll have to look it up.
Jim Thorpe is a historical like town.
Yeah, big
there's
a lot of things happen.
There's a lot of history.
There's a lot of
cool stories.
Hold on.
Jim Thorpe himself was like a legend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Molly McGuires. Execution of Molly McGuires.
And that's what the jail's called?
That's the gang was called, Molly McGuires. So they're a gang from like the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, you said they were talking about like they hung him or whatever it was. So yeah, that's definitely like way back when, because that's
So it's John Kehoe, King of the Mollies, soon before his execution in 1878.
1878.
Wow.
Anyway, long story short, this is like the 1800s, like this Irish gang that. Okay, so it says behind the marker on the wall of the old county jail in what was then Monk Chunk, which we all know that, and it's now called Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, is a handprint that, according to folklore, was made by Alex Campbell, one of 4 members in the Irish label organization called Molly McGuire's. Executed on June 21st, 1877, insisting he was innocent, Campbell declared that this is proof of my words, that mark will never be wiped out, and it never was. So there you have it. They're, I guess, an Irish label organization that was against, I guess, big business or people trying to take over, and basically taking advantage of, I guess, immigrants or whatever of that time.
Sure.
So they basically formed, which is a very traditional thing that's not, odd against, that time period. But anyway, he made his brand. But anyway, I said that to say, making your mark in history is one of those things that when you're deciding as to what my brand is, these are one of the things to think about, because we talk about legacy all the time. We talk about our kids. So is your brand, when you think about who you are as a person, who you want your business to be, and what you want to be remembered for, is that something you feel that you can hand down to your kids? It doesn't necessarily have to be, but I know for me, for myself, that's definitely one of those things that I strive for. Sure. Regardless if they take it or not. It's me setting the tone for for whatever it is, because I feel like, who else is going to do that? I want them to be their own person. I hope they, again, we always talk about standing on the shoulders of kings, or whatever it is. I want them to be 500,000 times bigger and better the person that I am. But if I don't build anything, I can't help them along the way. My goal is to establish who I am, be the person that I always want to be and continue to be, and then that's their starting point, and then they can grow and bloom to whatever they want.
And as long as you build something that's like passable, you know what I mean? Something like that's relevant 10, 15 years, 20 years, 40 years from now, you know what I mean? Something that's passable, and they can, whether on them, they take over and make it bigger and better. But you know what I mean? As long as something that's where they can grow on it as well and build their next their legacy.
And I mean, again, that's not easy, and I'm not the guy I want to shove it down my my kids' throats. You have to be this, you have to follow in your dad's footsteps. I don't, but they, at this point, they don't know what they want right now. So at least I can build something or put something together. So we're talking about the weight of what your brand is. You don't realize exactly like this dude putting his handprint on that whatever, that jail cell, whatever. But the weight of who I want to become or who I am is way heavier than what we think.
How you
the
live
kids
your
are
life.
watching.
Right.
You know what I mean? The family's watching. The friends are watching. Listen, I'm going to build my own brand regardless, whether my kids want to stick with that brand or build their own. That's perfectly fine. But if my brand is complete, so if you are the equivalent to the 5 people around you, my kids are already starting off with a mom and dad. That's 2 specific kids, right? So who me and Kel are, that's the huge influence of who they will be, right?
Absolutely.
Or at least aid in that.
Absolutely.
So if they see, mom is a loving, caring, passionate person, and dad is the same way, that more than likely they're going to be loving, caring, passionate people. So it's beyond just us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That weight that your brand carries is wild. When we come up with an episode 118 titled My Brand, you just think it's like, okay, here's a superficial, honestly, it just sounds like a total superficial topic. But when you actually dig deep, this thing goes for generations. We are who we are today because of the brand that my ancestors. I can't fathom the fact. Really take this in. Right, your grandfather had a father who had a father who had a father. Let's only go back 5. That to me is a wild, wild thought. Specifically because I've never met on my dad's side my grandfather, and to think that I had beyond that, there was life beyond that. Right? When this guy was planting his hand on that, this Molly McGuire guy, my grandfather was alive, or his father was alive. And think about that, we were not even thought of. Right? So it's like, crazy to think like the generations were there and they're just building up. If whoever my grandfathers were is now trickled down to who we are or who we're becoming. Obviously, we can step outside of, whatever the mold is and breaking that mold. But we literally wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Like, physically would not be here if it wasn't for them. Like, they survived on some crazy thing, and that's the reason why we're here. So if you can think that wild, right, and you go all the way back to Jesus' days, somebody in my, bloodline kept it alive.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, we have bloodline going back that far.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the only reason why we're alive today. Like, you can't just die out, not have kids, and then, your bloodline lives. No, that means somebody, some male or female, whatever it is, was alive that far then to make who we are today. Like, that thought is what's trippy to me.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's in the motivation files, I talk about, can you look, it's a challenge, right? Can you look your ancestors in the eyes and be proud of who you are for what they sacrificed back then?
Yeah.
So pound for pound, can you put up what their equivalent, right? Because they can't throw up a computer onto what they did, right?
Yeah.
So you can't compare it. That's apples to oranges. I'm saying, like, what you do, like the impact. That's the reason why impact is so important. Can I put my impact pound for pound up to what my ancestors did? When it came to, at that point, might have been just survival.
Sure.
Yeah.
Could I live then? I don't know. Maybe not. But there's a reason why I'm here now. There's a reason why I was born in this specific era, because I think I personally believe my impact could be much greater in this era than it would have been then. I personally think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there such thing as a bad brand? Or is it representative or indicative of what that person is or isn't? Like,
I feel like a bad brand can turn into something good.
Yeah.
Like it could eventually become a fad or a phase of some sort, whether how it's used or I don't know. Something.
Yeah, I think people misinterpret brands. Like, they could see someone doing something wrong and wearing that brand, or doing something like, they're wearing this, so now they're gonna see it and associate it with whatever that person was doing, like, negatively, and that they can make it a bad brand, but it's really not a bad brand. So,
and here's the thing. Let's just talk about, like, very superficial, right?
Yeah.
So if someone's wearing Louis Vuitton, right? What do we associate that with? Like, oh, that's a high quality, brand that makes leather goods and all this other kind of things, but we're associating that person now with them.
Yeah.
Right. That's why a lot of these jobs don't want you posting on social media, like these companies, about their company. Like, don't wear my logo while you're at a bar doing some knucklehead stuff.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because now that's associated with my brand, right? But then when we wear Nike, why do we buy Nike? Right, we know in our minds it's the best. It's not even in our minds. If you wear their stuff, it's a quality.
You're associated.
Yes, same thing with sneakers. Same thing. But then let's go on the opposite end. What's like what we call, quote, Bobo brand.
Sure.
Right. So is that a bad brand? Goose would tell you, right? Their intentions were probably really good. That's almost like heartbreaking. Like, there's a little family that started this little brand, whatever it is, and thinking like that is the best in their mind. Like, their intentions are crazy good, right? But we're putting them up to this wild comparison.
Sure,
that's almost like small business versus big business.
Yeah,
it's like my intentions here are just as good as that big business.
Yeah.
I might one day be that big business.
Yeah.
Right? You can't take away from me just because I'm small.
Yeah.
And even going back to the superficial version of it, like that, I think it was fairly recent. I forget what brand it was. That kind of like fell away. It was like, I don't know if it was like Starter or something. I could be totally wrong with that. But there was something like recently, like that you couldn't, like the sports suits, whatever it is, you couldn't get those. Like, you can buy like a whole suit for like $30. But more recent, like some hip hop person or something, I forget, somebody of influence wore it. And those things skyrocketed.
It's Champion.
Yeah,
it's Champion.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Now it's like $100 a damn suit.
That's crazy.
Just because a couple people wore it, now it's popular again.
Yeah, that's wild. But then again, that goes to association.
Yeah.
Right? That's like have one person, we talk about like the Bless brand, right? Have one person rock that t-shirt and who knows, it can blow up to something else. It's in our minds, it's that association.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, that person already has their own brand, right? Like who they are brand, probably. It's not like clothing brand.
Yeah.
If he's wearing it, I need to be wearing it.
Sure.
Right.
Because I know what he already been delivering to the comedy scene for the last 25, 30 years.
Absolutely.
That dude is literally one of the original kings of comedy. Yeah. And he's wearing a little shirt that I made.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, that just gives me the chills, like saying that.
That's such a hype.
Think about how the gravity and the weight of that. I think it's a quick association of like, that's cool. You got Cedric the Entertainer wearing your... No, think about that. It's almost like when I start talking about your ancestors, it's like that can almost bring you to tears, right? And like you keep talking about it, like it's almost sad. Like, whoa, that is some heavy stuff. It's the same thing. That's so much more bigger. Regardless of where that goes, that can go absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
For me, that's everything.
Yeah. Right.
That's
you reach a celebrity at that point with your
But
brand.
it's also how I value that. There's people who rock other people's brands and it's nothing to them.
Right.
They become so immune to like what is
It's just another outfit, whatever.
Yeah. It's like this brand, this Fashion Nova brand that's like all over whatever. They sell basically like highly stylish stuff for like cheap prices or whatever. I mean, that's like that's a well-known thing. But they have so many celebrities or whatever are wearing it that you're just like, oh, whatever. You become immune, immune to it, literally. But if one person, so for like the Bless brand, if like 900 different celebrities were like, that's awesome for me. But it gets to a point where like, okay, we get it. Kind of thing. That's when it becomes into like sponsorships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does Nike really need to sell you on the next athlete they sign?
No.
They don't. But they continue to do it because they know that's their reputation. That's when they need to be marked at as the best. So we're going to get the best athletes, sign them, put them on a cut. We don't need to be convinced, right? We already know Nike's great.
Sure.
That's the thing, though. It's like one of those things. Like, okay, but they need to continue their brand and who they are. If they stop signing these fantastic athletes or people, all right. So last thing, would you tell someone to follow their core values, talents, and passions to identify their brand?
Of course. I mean, that seems like kind of what we went back for what Gil was here was like that. You have to be authentic to what your core values are.
Yes.
Otherwise, whatever you're putting, whatever your influence is, it's inauthentic. It's not real to what you are, and like you're not gonna have a real passion for what you're doing if your core values aren't in there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. That just goes back to, again, what you're saying is that the key word, I guess, of the last several podcasts is authenticity. Yeah. If you can't be authentic, or what you're saying, being you, who are you then? You know what I mean? There's already that person. Okay, so if I'm trying to be, client A, or whatever, hero A, why try to be something that's already is? Right? Why not be a combination of A, B, and C, and then now you're D? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's you can admire, have that person as a mentor, and look up to that person. That is your role model. All good, fine, and dandy. That's even like me with my sons.
Yeah.
Like, I hope they they look up to me, and respect the person I am. But I want them to be their own person too. I don't want you to be identically me. That takes away from who you truly are, because that's not you. You're me and your mom put together. So you can't be me physically. You physically can't be me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like things now. Everything's like a hybrid. So it's like the best of this and the best of that, and they put it together, and it becomes something very like useful. Something better or something, you know what I mean? Two different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a hybrid.
You get a lot of miles to the gallon.
All right, so there you have it, folks. We like to close things up with quotes, and the first one is by Jeff Bezos. A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You can earn reputation by trying to do hard things well. And the last one by Simon Mainwaring. The keys to brand success are self-definition, transparency, authenticity, and accountability. Perfect. All right, so there you have it, folks. My brand. In this episode, the crew discusses their brand in 3 words. We talk about pride, our legacy, good and bad brands, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes by Simon Mainwaring and Jeff Bezos. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.